So welcome back, and in this video, as mentioned, we're going to ensure that you can move properly, because this is all about safe use of kettlebells so that you can actually get a really solid workout from them and obviously minimize injury. Injury is often a part of sport, but ideally we're looking to avoid that. Now I can say hand on heart that I've pretty much had no serious injuries from kettlebell training in almost 20 years. That is how effective they are. But more than that, I did have a lower spine injury from years ago as an apprentice electrician, ripping up floorboards on my hands and knees, drilling joists, and bang, like someone had stabbed me with a spear. I was on my hands and legs crawling for 2 weeks. I rehabbed my back with kettlebell swings, volume kettlebell swings. I mean, not to impress you in any way, shape or form, but I worked up to being able to swing a 16 kilogram kettlebell, one-handed, changing whenever I felt like it, for 3,200 times non-stop for sheer fun. And actually, I had no aches and pains the next day. The reason I do stuff like that is because I was told to take it easy. I was told with a minor bulge on MRI that actually affects my life insurance, i.e. they won't pay out if it's a back-related injury. I, as tested by Professor Stuart McGill, one of the leading spine specialists in the world, have a back that is cast iron. And there's a reason for that. Instead of listening to the people that were saying to me, be careful, don't do this, go easy on the training, you'll never be able to do that again, you're lucky you can walk, you know, chill out, enjoy the rest of your life, that kind of stuff. I said no, because this is who I was. Training was my life. I was a coach, I was a martial arts instructor, personal trainer. And what I realized is through the repetition of swing, I have not had a twinge in 14, almost 15 years. And there's a reason for that. Mechanical efficiency. You see, there are no bad exercises. There are exercises that can lead to injury if done wrong, with bad form, bad posture, or you are not ready for that level of exercise, because there's a thing that we'll briefly touch on. It's called synergistic dominance. It means that when the main muscle can't do the job, others are called in to do that work. And what happens there is you actually develop a huge amount of imbalances. I've seen this many, many times. I even had it myself. I've still got a bit of anterior tilt from possibly tens of millions of kicks as a martial artist, because what happens is, you can see there at the lumbar spine, I know for a fact that if you watch that trouser, that short line, it should be here, but it's here. Now I'm okay with that. All that means is that my spinal erectors are a little bit tight and I massage them out every now and then. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm okay. I can move, I can jump, I can run, I can kick, I can swing, lift, cycle, row. I don't do gymnastics anymore, particularly head somersaults or tumbles, because when you don't land straight and you land flexed, that shoots a huge amount of force in your spine. So the good thing, at 43 years of age, 44 in a couple of months, I'm still relatively able-bodied. There's a few creaks in the knees and stuff like that, but that's as to be expected when I look at pretty much the level of abuse that I went through. I mean, for the best part of 30 plus years, I've been training almost on a daily basis. I took some time out when I went into the mindset area, because I realized that the training was almost this kind of crutch. It was taking up a huge amount of time and effort. I would often train 4, even 5 hours a day as a martial artist and a kettlebell coach and a weightlifter. I was into my grip training from kettlebells, realizing that a grip was pretty much paramount to lifting some of the bigger ones without them flying away from you. So we are looking at mechanical efficiency, and what I want you to do is understand the nature of a good squat. So with me, just put your feet around shoulder width. I'll show you front and then I'll turn. And what I want you to do, so if you're familiar with London Underground, you've got the normal seats, then you've got the fold seats, and then about kind of upper hamstring height, you've got this thing which is a kind of perch, that's not a real seat, you'll lean in. And I think that's a great example for explaining the mechanics of the swing. Because the actual squat pattern isn't a knee down drop, it's a hinge. So what I want you to do is imagine there's a stool or a chair behind you. We're going to put the hands out in front, and instead of going knees forwards, we're actually going to go hips back. So the first thing that happens, I'll actually use this here. Hopefully you can still hear me. Stand yourself 6 inches from a wall, okay? And let your backside hit that. Instead of knees down, let your backside hit that. So what's happening, think of the, maybe if you've got a belt in your shorts or trousers, that's like the kind of string on a bow. That's being pulled backwards, because what that allows us to do is hip hinge, save our knees, save our spine, and effectively use the power produced in the glutes and the hamstrings to accelerate through to lift that weight. So with me, what we're looking at is feet shoulder width. Keep your eyeballs forwards. We will discuss the neck a little bit later on. Keep your eyeballs forwards. You can use these arms as a support. Imagine that perch behind you, so the back side, in fact I can do it relative to this box here behind me. You want your back side to sit, and then we're just going to come back up. So other side. Back side moves away, and we come back up. Now you can actually practice this at home, sitting in and out of your sofa. So actually stand up, take a shuffle step forwards from the sofa, and sit down into that chair, and then come up once more. So what this is doing, it's enforcing good mechanics, where you're effectively using the quads, you're protecting the lumbar spine. When you do descend, you can breathe in. So a little bit soft here, breathe in, tense, so you can breathe in, and exhale on the way up. Think of it more like a puncture, which isn't the best term to use for a cyclist, but instead of soft, okay, so you're maintaining that core tightness, which actually creates protection for your spine. Trust me, when your lower spine starts to give you problems, it's no fun. It literally, when you cannot reach down to put a shoe on or stand up without someone feeling like you're being stabbed in the back of the leg. So I'm a big fan of looking after the body. I'm probably not the world's best example for this, considering what I've put myself through. I consider myself very fortunate to simply be able to stand up straight, move, bend, jump, etc. Considering in my crazier past life as a kind of strength ninja what I've been through. So my message to you is mechanics first, safety first. Whether or not you can lift a 32 kilo kettlebell off the floor is irrelevant. Work up to that. But impress me and impress yourself by laying a foundation stone that allows you to step into progress on a regular basis with no injury, no tendon or ligament rupture, no joints that no longer move properly, so that dominance we mentioned earlier. If you can't get your arm back to get your shoulder overhead, you're going to use your spine. And all of a sudden, these muscles which are not used to taking that load will start to cramp or overwork, and then something else has to kick in. It's almost this balancing mechanism. So, to lift the kettlebell, the air bell we'll call it, they're nice and friendly because they're invisible. To lift the air bell, what we're looking at is using that squat mechanism. The arms will now go straight down, hips hinge away, take hold and stand. Now, what I want you to do for me first and foremost is Some coaches will say never focus on what you don't want people to do, because now it's in here, and obviously understanding mindset, I understand linguistics and embedding negative commands and stuff like that. Don't think of a green elephant. You're now thinking of one. That's how it works. I'm actually a fan of pointing out the pitfalls, the traps, what can happen when things go wrong. Because not only then can you calibrate when you are there, more than likely you can actually avoid it. So what I want you to do is with the air bell, I'll just go 45 degrees. Go knee dominant so that your hands go straight to the floor. So you've got this invisible kettlebell. So if you can see, relative to that box, instead of me hinging and my hip going away, my knees are now going down. Knees are going down. So imagine that this weight is going in a vertical line. Knees and stand. Knees and stand. Now what happens there is instead of the mass beginning to accelerate backwards and forwards, it goes up and down. And this is why a lot of people actually squat their swings. Because if you think about it, you've got a mass hanging it around knee height, give or take. And where does it finish? Eye level, give or take head height. How do we get there? Well, it starts at the knee and it goes up to the head, so that's several feet, so that's up. How do we get up? Well, we squat, and that is the error. Because what actually happens is it's a pendulum action. When you've got the little toddlers in the park and they're on the swing, to get height, do you push them up or do you push them forwards? See, what you've got is you've got your pivot. And from here, I'm not going to do this to get height, am I? What am I going to do? This. Yeah, so when you're pushing the kiddies on the swing, you don't push up, you push forwards, knowing that this lever will move around this fixed point, and with acceleration, travel out. So, instead of bending and flexing being knee dominant, let me line up with that box once more. Remember the pivot, the kind of the bar stool, if you will. Perch and come back. Perch and come back. And now watch the hands. Instead of down and up, when you perch, can you see that the hands have actually gone under? And now stand tall. Obviously, I've now accelerated mass. Think of a pendulum. Think of Newton's cradle, okay? What's going to happen when that weight comes here? If I do absolutely nothing, it will move forwards relative to the angle at the fixed point. So let's say I take it back to about 25 degrees. It's never going to go out more than 25 degrees. It's unlikely based on gravity to ever go out at 25 degrees. But I can guarantee you it's probably going to go to 22, 19, 15, 12, 10, 7, 3, 2, 1, and it comes to rest. Now that is with me doing nothing. That's me taking the weight back and allowing it to swing. When you add some, shall we call it oomph, when you add some oomph, you add some force production from the hips, i.e. the hips move slightly faster than the bell would on its own, connected to the arms. What you find is as you take it back and then stand, you will naturally accelerate that weight to at least lower rib to sternum height with minimal effort. So, the first exercise is for you to understand that the hips do the work and that we want to accelerate our hands to head height, basically to break eye line. So with me, hands down, hands will go under, step. Exhale at the top, so imagine it's your birthday and you're blowing out the candles in front of you. And there's a reason for that. We mentioned peripheral heart rate, we mentioned the triathletes. We also mentioned the fact that although you are on the spot, your body is going to be doing a huge amount of work. When the breath has run away from you and you are trying to catch it up, it's game over. You cannot claw your way back from that. So what happens is we want you to breathe efficiently early on. That's your petrol. That's how you refill your tank. Okay? So if I get a 45-degree angle, bring it to rest, and I'll see you in the next video for the swing itself.